Good evening, and welcome to the 11th part of my read through of the Complete Griselda by Oliver Dickinson. Tonight's story will be Carving Up Carver, which originally appeared in Tales of the Reaching Moon 6 in 1991. So, if you're sitting comfortably, you have a drink of your choice. I have a bigger cup of tea because I have a bigger story to read. I will begin. Carving Up Carver. Very few people care to be around Stormballs much, and I'm not one of them. So when Carver Donan pops up in front of me one morning, when I'm laying into one of Bob's bison burgers and doing a little handicapping, it's not surprising that my reaction is somewhat marked. In fact, I swallow a piece of the wrong way, and he gives me a great whack on the back to stop me choking. And by the time he has me up and dusted off, I'm feeling all shook up, and I'm able to give him no more than a hoarse hello. This Carver Donan is a big, muscular guy from way down south and west, where folks are not very civilised. And because he wants more action than he can get stealing the next tribe's sheep, he goes a-wandering and fetches up in Pavis. He's still a fairly young guy, but already he has quite a reputation for mayhem. And few citizens want any part of him, for he carries a great big blade like an overgrown butcher's knife. And he gets his nickname from what he likes to do with the blade when he gets excited. And Carver Donan can get excited very easily. He's not such a guy as is extra strong in the brain's development. In fact, he joins the Stormballs before he even reaches Pavis. And for my money, joining the Stormballs at any time is a triple guarantee that you are dumb. But this is a point of view I keep strictly to myself. For Stormballs are apt to be very touchy about such comments. And it is well known that they do not care a bent clack for the law, especially when the Lunars are administering it, and will jump you in a moment if they feel they have cause to, and let the future take care of itself. But Carver is all right when he's sober, and I always give him a hello, for I believe in keeping in with all such characters, and he has some time for me, because I once put him in the way of making a little dough in a fight game. In this man's town, there are many guys, and dolls too, who will bet on anything down to which two birds will fly off a roof first. And this just shows how dumb people can get. For where is the sense in betting on a bird if you know nothing of its previous performance? So naturally, such persons will bet on fights, and there are also persons who love to watch fights. And so some enterprising characters see a way to make some dough by hiring fighters to put on a show in a discreet location out of town and handling bets. Usually young adventurers are very desperate will consider this, and they rarely last long, because such fights must be serious or the public will not be interested. But Carver hangs up quite a record before he has to retire, because the promoters can get no one to take him on. And moreover, because the promoters can get no one to take him on, they can make nothing by bets because Carver is the public's favourite. But Carver is not dismayed at having to retire, but just goes on with his life, doing this and that. Well, he says. Here you are at last. I'm looking for you all over. He does not say this in such a way as to suggest that he wishes me harm, so I relax and ask what I can do for him. You are spoken of here and there as one who knows almost as much about Griselda as she does, he says, and I wish to find her, so tell me where she is like to be right now. Well, this is the kind of question I never like to answer, since I do not wish anyone to think I'm putting the finger on them. But this time I have an easy way out. Nobody knows where Griselda is, Carver, I say. Since she and Wolfhead do their disappearing act, I hear 100 stories of where they are, and I know nothing to prove any one of these stories. Then you know more than I do, he says. My colt gets word 2 nights ago from the Pavis Temple, asking if we will forgive and forget being cheated over that chart, in return for our money back, being as Griselda and the rest are carrying out such doughty deeds against chaos. It seems that the Pavis Temple is sponsoring them now. But we're not going to let this matter go so easy, and I'm looking for them since, and especially Griselda, who figures to be the brains behind the whole scam. Well, Carver, I say, this is all news to me. And I do not suppose you want my advice, but I will give you some free, gratis, and for nothing. Try to cross the troll bridge, or take over the mint, or get to the centre of the puzzle canal. But do not tangle with Griselda, for she makes a sucker of some very tough customers here and there, and if you hit her, you will surely break your arm. Oh, phooey, says Carver. Who sees her do half what is claimed? No, in my book, she's just a smart little doll with an exaggerated reputation, as I aim to show. And besides, I'm bound and determined to avenge my colt's honour. And off he goes, and for once. Though I generally like to be around when Griselda is involved in any action, I find I have no wish to follow, since either she or Carver is like to suffer permanent damage, and I am unwilling to witness this. Instead I go to Lalina's, figuring that Carver must already look in there, and tell the company that Griselda is reported back in town, and what else I hear from Carver. And this news is of interest to one and all. It is maybe an hour later when who steps through the door but Rowdy Joe Blow, which is most unusual. Though he and Lalina are believed to we think well of one another at one time, and only to part company over where to set up businesses. He's looking a little strained, and also sounds for he says, "Give us a mug for old time's sake, Lil. I just close up my joint after what comes off there, and step uptown to relax." Lena draws him a mug and says, "Rest your mind, Joe boy. What happens that makes you so nervous?" And we all quiet down to listen. "You hear that Griselda is back?" he says. "Well, she drops by like she is never away. Claims it is her first chance to get a drink without some kind of priest breathing down her neck. She is looking a shade thinner than last time I see her, but otherwise in good spirits. She sets them up and is beginning to curl our ears with some tale of fighting off a chaos bunch at Wolfhead's hideout, when in comes Carver Donan. Now, I always think that they got on all right before, but he pulls that blade and swings his shield around and starts for her yelling. We move pretty fast, and so must she. And his blade sits through where she is sitting a moment before and demolishes a perfectly good chair. Then he starts swinging at her, but he is mostly hitting air, as she is waltzing rings around him and parrying away with a little sticker, cool as anything. All the time she is muttering spells, and it is a real educational to see her at work. First she gets a little blurry to look at, then there is a shine along her sword edge. And then she kind of flicks her hand at him and blasts him twice, especially in the fighting arm, which makes him yell. So he stops swinging and must aim to hold her off and heal his arm a bit. But with all the pressure he's putting on, he cannot get it done, for now she takes her sword to him. By some kind of fluke, she misses the first time, though he is making all the wrong moves, but she just blinks and tries again. And this time she drops him with a nice one low in the ribs. "Is that enough? You crazy guy," she says. And after thrashing about a bit, he says, "Okay, you win." And gets himself healed enough to get up. But then he says, "You beat me with my magic. Not fair fight." Very grumpy like. "What is fair about jumping me?" she says, still very cool. And starts yelling about no need to warn. He starts yelling about no need to warn an enemy of the bulls, at which Griselda seems to sigh. "If that is the way you feel about it," she says, "I will give you a real fight, but not out of armour. "I can take you in armour if you lay off magic," says Carver. And then they get down to fixing term. But I close up the joint, because I do not care for so much excitement this early in the day. It does not sit well with my breakfast. After this, word gets about fast that Griselda and Carver Donan are to have a proper duel in the fighting place out of town. And much dough begins to be laid on the result. In fact, so much dough is wagered that the fight promoters start talking of claiming a percentage. But Wolfhead and Big Nig and one or two others talk to them very earnestly about this, and it's very difficult to argue with such guys, so they cannot even charge an entrance fee. Personally, I have a great difficulty making up my mind where to place my dough, for there is no denying that Griselda is giving away a lot of her edge by agreeing to use magic but healing, since Carver knows very little magic, and he may be the toughest opponent she ever faces. And all this shows in the odds you can get. But the crowd from Lilinas generally remains faithful to Griselda, and many others fancy her. So you can only get 6 to 5 on Carver, and I decide to take a gamble that Griselda will win out anyway. So one fine day, we all troop out to the fighting place, and it seems like half the town is there, including many persons you will not expect to see on such an occasion. There is a whole bunch from the Pavis temple, including that smart priestess Brewster, and representatives of half a dozen other cults, even the Yellorians, who seldom come out of the rubble. And it's quite noticeable how many of these cult persons are female, apart from the Yellorians, who are bound to be. There are some sables, and some off-duty lunar soldiers, and off in one corner there are some trolls all covered up against the sun. Of course, there are stormballs there to side Carver, though these are nothing special, and Wolfhead and others, including Hanufa, who is not seen for some days, are with Griselda. Many of those present stand around in tight little bunches, and they can be observed to cast hostile glances at each other from time to time. But to start a fight on an occasion like this will be considered most bad-mannered, and a sign that you have no class at all. And besides, few of these present come prepared for an all-out fight. By the terms, Carver and Griselda get to throw one missile at each other, and here Carver is not so lucky, for he makes a fair javelin throw, which just bounces off Griselda's mail, while a puny little dart cuts through the leather, which is all he has to wear, and slices his carving arm. But it does not seem to slow him down, and with his first swing he gets a good lick past Griselda's shield into her leg, for her shield work is not so good as you will expect, and she rocks a little and has to do a healing spell. She turns off a couple more, but cannot get at his carving arm, which it seems she has her eye on. And then he is through again and again, and down goes Griselda with a leg out, and there is quite a gasp all round. I'm breathing a prayer for my dough, and wishing I have some sense to lay off some. And there is much alarm and despondency among Lilina's customers generally, for Griselda is not looking any too good, while Carver is all puffed out with pride as he winds himself up for the big one. But he's not a very fast mover, and Griselda is able to fit in a little healing and take the full force of his swing, which shows that she is tougher than she looks. Then she is up and coming for him with a screech like nothing I ever hear. It surely makes him jump a little, for his next swing just takes the bottom off her shield, while she cuts low at his leg and then high at his carving arm very fast, and he is completely fooled. He covers the leg, which is only nicked, and she slices up his arm quite some, so he drops the blade, and then she steps on it. At this, there is much laughter around and about, which burns Carver up, it seems. Anyway, he runs straight at her, aimed to knock her over, which is not such a bad idea at that. But now Griselda really has her luck working for her, and how she does it, I will never know. But she fakes him into bouncing off her in such a way that he goes right over, at which there is a real yell, and none are so yelling so loudly at those present who happen to be female, to see that great big guy down by little Griselda. Also, she must be working her brain double time, for she thinks to kick Carver's blade over to Wolfhead, who snatches it up, and then she turns on Carver, who is sitting up, shaking his head, but she does not strike again. Now, are you satisfied, you stupid bastard, she says. I can kill you 10 times over by now. Anyone can say that she's more vexed than somewhat, but then she has a right to be, for Carver demonstrates that she is not unbeatable. Carver heaves himself up, clutching his arm, and says, No way I can beat you now, Griselda, I admit. I will give you best. Now, do I get my blade back? Sure, says Griselda, sounding cool again, if you swear by your god not to attack me again. Ugh, now you know I cannot do that, Griselda, he says, as if what she is asking is most unreasonable. You are an enemy of the cult, for God's sake. No oath, no blade, says Griselda shortly. Carver seems quite nonplussed at this and looks at his pals, who come up with the idea of a truce. At this, Griselda fires up. What good is a truce for me? Must I spend my whole life dodging you crazies? We offer you your money back, do we not? I want better than this, or no deal. Now Carver sets his jaw and says very grittily, I can always get another blade. But Griselda looks quite unimpressed. Carver, you do that, she says. But mind me, as far as I'm concerned, you throw away your chance. Come after me again, and I will use everything I have. The way she says this will have me fixed to leave town within the hour. But Carver just laughs and goes off with his friends. Well, Griselda is not the only one who is dissatisfied with this conclusion, though in most other cases this is because their bets are void, since there's no kill. But I am smart enough to get a bet simply that she will come out ahead. So I get paid off and I'm eager to buy her a drink. But she goes off quickly and is not seen uptown that night, maybe because she suspects that the other Stormballs will be laying into her. It is a day or two later that Griselda shows up in Lilina's, and I never ever see her look so mad. She throws herself into her usual chair, which we leave empty just in case, and she slams the sword on the table where it is ready to hand, and says nothing until she downs a good half of her drink. Then she looks around. "How do you like this guy?" she says. "Do I not give him a good chance at me? Is it my fault if he has no better armour than that dirty old leather? Yet here he is, griping about how I never fight fair, with my armour and power crystal and all. I can tell you, even without the crystal, I can outlast him, stupid dumb cluck who can get out of the way of his own feet." Then she throws back the rest of her drink and broods for a bit. Well, none of us can think of anything helpful to say. Finally, she says quietly, "I suppose I will have to fight the big lunk again. Damn the luck." "Well, Griselda," I say, hoping to cheer up, "after all I see and hear, my money goes on you on any terms, and I'm sure that I speak for all present." Griselda grins a little. "Thanks," she says a little dryly, or so it sounds to me. "You're a real pal." And off she goes. It is not too long after this that word gets around that they arrange to fight again, and this time Carver is to be allowed some heavy-duty protection spell, since he cannot raise any good armour, and Griselda will not be using her real attacking spells, and also will start the fight with her spear, which is not her best weapon, because Carver cannot get another blade like his own to fight with, and must use a lunar scimitar, which is the nearest thing. All these changes give the betting public plenty of headaches figuring out the new odds, but this time Griselda is the clear favourite. It seems like even more of the town turns up than before, though no trolls turn up this time, and the excitement is practically insane. Carver looks very determined as he makes practice swings with his scimitar, but I judge he does not have such confidence in it, and that my dough is as good as in the bank. Well, as it happens, I am right. But the event is so short that many are heard to murmur that they are shortchanged. For Griselda turns off Carver's first swing like a pro while she's casting some spell. And though her first stab bounces off him because of his protection, the second goes through everything he has and all the way into his left arm. I seldom sees anyone look so surprised as Carver does then. He just stands there with his arms hanging and his mouth open like he cannot believe this happens to him, whilst Griselda lets go of the spear and pulls her sword. One and all will reckon it is the spirit playing for Carver. But Griselda lowers her own blade after a moment and says in a most disgusted way, "Oh, hell, I cannot do it. Get it out of him." So Carver's friends gather around, and as they're looking after him, Griselda stands watching, shaking her head and seeming to be cussing to herself. Some of those present figure it is all over, and begin to leave. But Griselda looks as if she's building up to blow, and so most stay to see what comes off. Sure enough, when Carver is taking notice again, Griselda cuts loose on him, in a voice that can be heard all round the fighting place, although she is by no means yelling. "Carver," she says, "you and your dumb friends are just not in my league. Does it occur to none of you to stipulate that I do not use poison on this spear? Though you must know I can get hold of it easy enough. If I do, you'll be a dead duck by now. And it's very lucky for you that I decide not to take an unfair advantage of your lack of brains, reckoning I can handle you without such aid. Sometimes," she says, "it seems to me that most people have no more use for their brains than to stop the wind blowing straight out through their skulls. Now," she says, "are you going to lay off because this is positively your last chance? If you say no, I'm not going to wait on you, but will be aiming to take you out any way I can. But instead of harassing me, why don't you do not go and chase chaos the way you're supposed to do? There's plenty down in the Devil's Playground to keep you occupied. Take it from me, and the Pavis cult will be happy to provide you with directions. Anyone can see these remarks about the dumbness burn the Stormballs up no little, though most others present clearly derive great enjoyment from them. And if looks can kill, Griselda will be dog meat. But even the Stormballs does not start anything, for there are too many present who would likely side with Griselda. Carver does not seem as annoyed as you would expect, but acts like he is thinking. First he looks at the ground, and then at the sky, and finally he says, "All right, but I personally will lay off. I can see when I'm jinxed, but that does not mean I will not help others. Then you will just get just as dead as they do if you're in range," says Griselda, and after a moment, since she evidently has nothing more to say, the Stormballs move off, and it's quite remarkable how relaxed everyone becomes. Quite a few of the cult people come over to congratulate Griselda on her showing, especially the females. Mostly just say a word or two, but one of the Yelornians, it seems quite important to judge from the silver all over her gear, ask her why she does not kill Carver. "One Stormball less will be of great benefit," she says, "and you have reason enough." Well, Griselda never cares to be asked why she does anything, so I expect her answer to be fairly blunt, no matter how ranking this Yelornian is. But she just stares at her for a moment, then she says, "Oh, I just remember that I buy him a drink or some while before I leave town. I am surely not going to kill him before he buys me one back." And she says this in such a way that if you do not know her, well, you think she's being serious. But Wolfhead comes out with a loud guffaw at once, and plenty of others join in, and the Elenornians go off looking most offended. Then Brewster, who is near enough to hear this, speaks up. "As good a way as telling someone to mind their own business ever, I hear," she says. But she is right. Like most Stoneballs, this Carver Donan seems the most obnoxious character, and you may well have further trouble with him. Griselda sighs. "Lady, I know it. But you do not see that if I kill him, I may get in worse trouble with his cult than I am now. Besides, you're entitled to your own opinion, Stoneballs, but they have their uses, and after that little trip to the Devil's Playground that we undertake for you, I can certainly appreciate them. In fact, as soon as I hear Carver is off hunting chaos again, I will return his blade with my compliments. As long as he is hacking away at Bruce and not at me, we will get along fine." Okay, so that's a longer story from Complete Griselda by Oliver Dickinson. Come back for story number 11, which is Devil's Play. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching and listening, and I hope to be able to read to you again soon.